This is greater than Judge Moore, right? It's even greater than the people of Alabama. I know one thing. Nobody can come down here and tell folks in Alabama what to do. There's a special place in hell for Republicans who should know better. You know what they're doing. You know what they're doing when they're trying to shut up President Trump and Judge Moore? They're trying to shut you up.
Anyway, that's an outside agitator. That's what they look like these days. Welcome back to Hardball. That was Steve Bannon going against people who came into Alabama to tell them how to vote as he came into Alabama and told them how to vote, urging Republicans to vote for Roy Moore in that case. Anyway, tonight's loss in Alabama was a rebuke, of course, to that guy, Steve Bannon, but also to President Trump. Let's be honest. And here's the headline from tomorrow's great New York Daily News. Screw you and the horse you rode in. Because, of course, the Republican candidate who just lost last night was, of course, the guy who rode in on a horse, Roy Moore, and he was kind of ridiculous doing it. Anyway, here, by the way, the headline also says, teen-loving Moore loses Alabama race in big blow to Trump. Well, let's bring in on that hilarity, the Hardball Roundtable. Annie Linsky, my favorite, chief national correspondent for the Boston Globe. Sophia Nelson, contributor for NBC BLK. And Jamal Simmons, the Democratic strategist. So in this order, let me talk about this. What's it do to Bannon and these guys, these friskies, to go out there looking for the most hard-right candidate they can find and run them, claiming that unlike the case of Christine O'Donnell and what's her name?
Aiken.
Out there in Aiken and Murdoch and the one out in Nevada, you know, they're actually going to win. Turn angles. Now they're going to give us winners. They gave us probably the only candidate who could have lost.
Yeah,
a Republican loss in Alabama, which is like hard, hot red.
Very hard to do. I mean, it is a complete and you can't overstate what a rebuke this is to Steve Bannon, who went down there 4 times to campaign. I mean, he put his stamp on this campaign like nobody else from the outside. I mean, even Donald Trump wouldn't go into the state, but Steve Bannon went there 4 times. And yeah, it's going to make his life even more difficult here in Washington.
And it wasn't exactly an away game, Sophia. I mean, it looked like you could, if you can't win in a Republican state, where can you win? I was thinking.
It says something different to me, though. The demographics of the country are shifting as such that even in the red South, I live in Virginia, which used to be all red. Now it's purple. It's not blue. But, you know, Alabama.
Before you were born, it was all red.
Right.
Come on now. When was it all red?
Well, Virginia's been red for a long time. You know, it's been a red state. What do you mean when? 1964 was the last time a Democrat had carried it until Obama. Come on. It's been red.
Level.
Yeah, and I'm talking about just even in the state.
I'm missing something.
No, you're not.
I've known these
anyway, let me finish my
senators
point.
for years.
In Alabama, what happened tonight was I thought Roy Moore would win by a little bit. I think most people did. But what happened was white women and African Americans said no dice, and they made the difference in this election. So demographics count. This Me Too thing is bigger than anybody thinks. Women's stories matter.
What has changed in the demography of, because the black belt, if you will, the Cotton South, if you just look at the map, there's always been a back in the days of the Civil War,
younger African American.
There was a 40%, big percentage is African American.
You have younger progressive women and young African Americans, more educated, more
so that kind of demographic.
Centrist, yes. That's what happened.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so here's what I think about Steve Bannon. We know he can't win, or we're starting to get pretty sure he can't win a general election. But he still might be able to swing a pretty big axe in a primary.
Yeah.
So the question for Republicans, which puts them in a real jam, is can they get past Steve Bannon in a primary enough to be able to be competitive in a general?
Okay, let me give you Exhibit A. Donnelly could have a tough race in Indiana to get reelected. He's a Democratic, run against Crazy Murdoch, one of the rape candidates. Remember those two? Jesus. Or what do they call them? Rape candidates, yeah. And not that they were rapists, but they had weird views on the issue. So if he gets another Murdoch, he gets back in again.
That's right.
If they run a reasonable Republican, he's going to have a tough fight in Indiana.
And that's going to happen, I think, all over the country. You're going to see these Republicans fighting these primaries where they could get really jammed up by playing ball with Steve Bannon, but they may not be able to have, they may not have a choice. That may be the only thing they can do is to dance with Bannon in the primary.
Well, the news of Doug Jones's big upset victory tonight won't be the only bad headline greeting President Trump tomorrow morning. In a scathing op-ed, the USA Today editorial board, that's the unsigned major editorial, goes after the president for his sexually suggestive tweet directed at Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. The editorial reads, quote, A president all but call a senator a whore is unfit to clean toilets in Obama's presidential library or to shine George W. Bush's shoes.
Yeah.
This is the lead editorial of USA Today, which is one of the 2 or 3 with the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times national newspaper.
Yeah, and you know, this is not a newspaper that's known to be sort of a lefty paper. I mean, I read that, and it reads sort of like a lefty screed you might hear at, you know, a Thanksgiving dinner. But instead, this is USA Today, which is, you know, their circulation is the middle of the country.
What moved them?
You know,
it's this Me Too movement. It is this movement of women sharing their stories changed the whole Alabama race. Without it, Roy Moore would be senator-elect right now. If they hadn't uncovered the Washington Post stuff, game over.
Okay, answer me a really odd question. It's not a stupid question. It's about a stupid decision. Why did Trump imply very clearly that Kirsten Gillibrand, that she had come into his office alone and offered her body basically to him to get money from him? That was the suggestion in what he said.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think Donald Trump has no control when it comes to some of these things. He just sort of blurts out what comes to his mind. I mean, my wife said to me right before I left here, don't mind the tweet he said today. Wait till tomorrow morning. Let's see the tweet in the morning, because that's when Trump puts the stuff out that he really thinks.
But to the Gillibrand tweet, though, I almost feel like Trump just wants to be the center of attention. And for a moment, the attention has been on Alabama.
So he likes us talking about him right now.
Yeah, and now we're talking about him.
He also knows it'll get us all riled up, which it has, and he likes it. He feeds on it. He doesn't like women. Can I just say that? He doesn't like women. He's got mommy issues. Clearly got mother issues. He doesn't like women. Look at how he treats women. These allegations, 17 women coming out, one alleging something horrific as a minor, that he may have allegedly raped somebody. This is the President of the United States.
Wait a minute, who allegedly?
Remember the young woman that filed a suit it went in the federal courts, and Lisa Bloom was going to represent her, and she wouldn't come out because he won the election. They call her Jane Doe.
Let's broaden that a little. Besides that horrific stuff.
But I'm saying that's horrific.
It's horrific. It's criminal.
It is horrific.
It's almost a capital crime. But if, how about this? Making fun of the physical appearance of Fiorina, one of his opponents. Oh, yeah. He wouldn't do that to a guy.
No.
In this kind of weird, if they're not one of, if they're not.
He said little hands with Marco Rubio.
Or the disabled reporter.
Right.
Yeah,
I think he would.
Disabled reporter.
He's just mean.
I think there is sort of a meanness. But, you know, I have to say, I do disagree a bit about women, because if you do look at his administration and his inner circle, I mean, he does have quite a few women that he listens to, honestly, whether it's Hope Hicks or Kellyanne Conway.
But it's the women who stand up to him are the ones that he seems to have a problem with. And here's the last thing, Chris.
Who is that?
The
Democrat.
Elizabeth Warren, Kirsten Gillibrand.
Who would be
Hillary Clinton.
Who would be the best candidate to run against him in terms of standing up face to face?
Sally Yates.
Face to face. Is it Elizabeth Warren? Who would face him down and turn on him like when Hillary, when he's looming over her during the debate? I mean, looming over like a gorilla behind her. Who would turn around and say, "What the hell are you doing over here?" I'm waiting for that candidate. That's the one I want. Thank you, Annie Linsky. Thank you, Sophia Nelson. Thank you, Jamal Simmons.